Have you watched a late night show called Jay Leno? Jay Leno on late night? Oh, do you love him? You know he was on before. Do you miss him? Do you miss him? Okay, fine. I want to ask you. Always I would watch the first 15 minutes, typically. I'd listen to his stories. You know, he'd talk about people, politics, things like that. And then when he would interview one-on-one, I'd fall asleep or go to bed, you know. But the first 15 minutes I would watch. And it was open what? You know, during Jay Leno's first 15 minutes, he'd come in and during the opening, he'd give high fives to everybody. And a lot of people in the audience would clap and clap for him, right? And the deaf clap like this, visually. This is how deaf people applaud. And hard of hearing people do it like this. Hearing people clap like this, deaf like this, and hard of hearing like this. Okay, so I'm going to go behind the curtain. And when Karen says, welcome to the Jay Leno Show, then I want you all to stand up and high five and applause, okay? Okay, I want you all to applause it like this. Stand up and applause. And Bob, you video all their hands up in the air, okay? All right, we're ready. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Jay Leno Show. Yay! Yay! High fives. All right. Yay! Yay! Okay, thank you. And welcome to this show. Wow, we had such a busy schedule, everything that we're doing, and I know you all have busy schedules, but you came to hear this presentation. I'm honored that you would come for this, and I'm thrilled. I'm sorry the pizza is a little late, messed up there, but that's okay. We'll make your tummies full with laughter. By the way, I want to let you know that voice that you hear, it's not my voice. I have a man's voice. This interpreter is a woman, Karen Dona, but I'm a man, Jason Maloney, and I apologize that it sounds, a little sexy because I have a woman's voice. I have one question for you. If you raise your hand if you believe that I have no mental illness issues. I'm normal, I'm perfectly okay. Raise your hand. Do you feel that I have no mental illness issues? Okay, that's fine. When you arrive home, I want you to, open up a box and find some string and a needle and some thread, and thread that needle and see if you can thread it or if you get, frustrated with that. If you get frustrated with that, then maybe you do have some mental illness issues. Many people do have mental illness issues. All of us, really, getting frustrated, that's normal. But more deeply, that they need some services, we'll discuss that more later. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about deaf culture. I was teaching one class. It was a fun class, not a college class. There was a woman there over 50. Oh, all the women were over 50. They had real nice fancy cars out in the parking lot. They were all comfortable. They wanted to learn a few signs. So I wrote on the board. I wrote some verbs, some words, deaf, hearing, and I taught them, this is the sign for deaf. Come on, copy me, this is the sign for deaf. Deaf, some sign deaf like this, some sign it the other way, either way is fine. And then all of the ladies were sitting there learning to sign deaf, and then I wrote hearing. Hearing, this is the sign for hearing. So I wrote that on the board. And then one woman raised her hand and she said, So the woman asked if I could lip read. Really, lip reading is not an effective way of communicating between deaf and hearing. There's a lot of opportunity for misunderstanding. For example, I went to a restaurant and I wanted grape jelly. But they didn't catch it, so I said, crepe, C-R-A-P-E, jelly. Instead, I said crepe jelly. And then they understood it. So anyway, the lady said, she asked me, I understand, this is a sign for deaf because you can't hear, you can't speak. Okay, but why is this the sign for hearing? And really, when I teach ASL class, I've been teaching for 10 years, sometimes my students say, why do we sign it that way? And I'll give them the reason why, but sometimes there really is no reason. I just say, well, it's because we like it that way. And they'll accept the answer and we'll go on. So I said, do you want to sign hearing like this? Do you prefer this? The woman was like, no, you can hear, you can hear. No, it looks kind of like crazy. I think I do prefer this sign for hearing. I said, I agree, I think so too. I have many hearing friends. Hearing friends, I have many. This kind of hearing friend. So I want to give you the big picture. The title, Be Overconfident. Being overconfident often gets you in trouble. That's true, it gets you in trouble. One time, I was on the airplane and I was skydiving, but I'm here, I'm still alive. So that gave me a lot of confidence, right? I had to follow the team leader who was with me and, go down with them, and they supported me and gave me, an enjoyable time and made sure that my chute would open on time, and, I had that kind of support, right? And without it, it often gets you in trouble. Also, for example, there was a police officer. He was really built. He knew everything. He had a lot of confidence. And he was a cop, a police officer, a state trooper. He had his belt and his gun and all of his equipment. He had everything. And he was really well built. Just everything was perfect. His shoes were shining, everything. And there was a driver on the road that was weaving all over the place. He was a sloppy, drunk, and he had a squirt gun with him. So the cop pulled him over, and he went around to the window. He had his hat, and he went walking over there with all the confidence in the world. And he knocked on the window, and the drunk was like, what? And he said, you've been speeding. Oh, you look like you're drunk. Come on, get out of the car. And he said, no, I don't want to get out of the car. Come on. Yeah, I need you to get out of the car. He showed him his gun. And then the drunk took his water gun, and the cop went, oh, no, please, 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 please don't shoot me, please, please. He was begging for his life. And then he took off. And then the drunk just took off, went on down the road. So often, being overconfident can get you in trouble, having a big head. No. And that also can work in the mental health field, being overconfident. That was a true story. That really happened. And that happened in Tennessee. And here's another story. A deaf woman was married. She lived in an apartment. A deaf man and woman. And the wife was pregnant. And the wife said, come on, I'm hungry. I'm craving some milk and chocolate. And he said, tomorrow morning, maybe. It's 2 in the morning right now. No, I can't wait. I need some milk and chocolate. Okay. So he got up, got dressed. He was a good husband. And he went downstairs, and he went to a 24-hour open store and got some milk and chocolate. Came all the way back. and the door was locked. Oh no, the door was locked, it's dark, it's in the middle of the night, there's nobody around. He's like, I got my milk and chocolate. And a police officer came and started talking to him, and he's like, no, I'm deaf. And so he tried to explain what was going on. You know, my wife upstairs, she's pregnant. You know, my wife upstairs, he was gesturing to the cop, and the lock, you know, doesn't work. So the cop, you know, got on his radio, and he said, hold on. And then pretty soon he saw a bunch of red, blue lights flashing and a bunch of cop cars coming, showing up all over. And then they broke in his door into the apartment, and it woke up his wife. They're like, what's going on? They misunderstood. And the husband was like, I'm sorry, I was just locked out. But the communication, they misunderstood because they thought his wife is pregnant, she needs help right now. So that happened for real in the 1980s. And one more thing about deaf people. I'm wondering, would you think that ASL or spoken language, spoken English, is faster for communicating? Which one do you think is faster? Do you think ASL, signing, is faster than spoken English, or spoken English is faster than ASL? What do you think? Anyone think ASL is faster? Raise your hand. Okay, fine. And anyone think that spoken English is faster than ASL? Raise your hand. Okay. Or maybe you think, maybe they're equal. Okay. So I need one social work student to come volunteer for just 1 minute. Can I have a social work volunteer who can speak A through Z? That's what I want you to volunteer, speaking A through Z. Okay, all right, come on up. Perfect. Okay, you can go ahead and say the alphabet. And somebody can time him if you want. See how fast he does it. You know, A, B, C.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Okay, great, great. Okay, all right. Well, this proves it. That's it. That's the alphabet in ASL. She can't keep up with me. She can't say it fast enough. I can sign it faster than she can say it. Okay, well now I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jason Maloney, and my sign name is JM. JM, so Jason Maloney. And I've been teaching here at PNC ASL classes for 10 years. I was born deaf to a hearing family, and living in the hearing world is not strange to me. I'm used to it. I'm used to the hearing world. And honestly, I was lucky because my parents learned to sign when they found out I was deaf. And that was in the 1970s, and sign language was not popular back then. There were a lot of people who believed in teaching deaf people through the oral method, not using sign language. There was a lot of controversy back then in the 60s and 70s about that. Today we're more open and accepting of ASL and accessibility to deaf people. But during that time, my parents willingly learned sign language. And I went to a mainstream school. They had a deaf school, but I went to a public school growing up and was mainstream. And when I was 8, I learned about a university in Washington, D.C. called Gallaudet University. It's the only deaf university in the world. So I heard about it. And they told me there are many deaf students there, there are many deaf teachers there, and the faculty are all that, and I thought, oh, wow, wow. So at 8 years old, I decided I want to go to that university. So when I came home that day, I told my parents, I'm going to Gallaudet. And they're like, they didn't know that sign. That is named after a man named Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet, because he would keep always putting his glasses on and off all the time, and so that's how he got that name sign. And so that's the name sign for the university. But my parents didn't know that sign, so I had to explain it to them. And then my dad came home from work. He was a mechanic. He had a blue-collar job. He worked hard, and he came home from work, and he said, okay. He put on the coffee table, I was playing with my card, like matchbook cards, and he showed me the gold globe. He said, okay, this is California. Way over here is Washington, D.C. You want to go to school there? I'm like, yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm going there. And Dad's like, oh, okay. And my mother and Dad were like, really, Gallaudet? I was 8 years old. I had already decided. And when I grew up, other universities would come to my school and give presentations, but I'd turn them all down. And the Army, they called me too. My sister explained I was deaf. They're like, oh, you're deaf? Okay, never mind. And they hung up. And I went straight to Gallaudet after high school. When I was a freshman in high school, I wasn't boasting, but we were talking about overcoming as a deaf person. I was a freshman. I went into school. There were a lot of hearing people, and I was the first deaf. Okay, and there was the first deaf teacher at that school. It was the first time they had a deaf teacher at that school, and I met him. He was from New York, she was from New York. It was a woman. And she could really sign beautiful ASL. And I learned a lot from her, math and English, and she encouraged me. I was in 2 programs in California, LA County Education and South Bay area, a hearing program. So I took their test for graduation and finished that early. And I told the teacher I want to go ahead and try the other one, the hearing test for graduation. And they said, okay, fine, try it, go ahead. So I went in to the cafeteria. Everybody in there was hearing. I was the only deaf person. Took the test, finished. Some passed, some failed. Then the next semester I took it again. I passed some more. And then finally, when I was a senior, my English was, terrible. My first language was ASL, remember? That was my first language. And English is my second language. So I asked my teacher to help me, and I would, prepare and practice and review the grammar and everything. And I took the test as a senior, and I passed. And I graduated with 2 high school diplomas, one from LA County and one from South Bay. And I was the first deaf person to do that. And then in the future, more and more deaf people took more at that high school. So after high school, I went to Gallaudet. And then when I finished school at Gallaudet, I got a job in Chicago with Thresholds agency. It was a psychology agency. And I got a job. I was a job coach. In a vocational program. Understand, my degree really was in business administration. But I got a job as a job coach, went on from there. I worked as a job coach for 3 years, and then I left. and worked for the FSSA Health and Human Services here. The main office is in Indianapolis. I worked there for 3 years in the mental health field in northern Indiana, all of the northern portion of Indiana. And I had many deaf clients, set up counseling services, hired counselors that could sign. In one situation, I had a deaf client, and he was heavily medicated, and his ability to communicate was very low. And his parents thought that's normal for him, and I thought it doesn't look right. So I would sign to him. It was a little bit off, and they thought that's him. That's just the way he is. That's his illness. That's why he behaves that way. And I thought, if he's deaf, he's the same as me. So I took him with me 200 miles south to Bloomington to meet a psychologist there who could sign, and I felt like the medication wasn't right for him. His parents had told me he had no interpreter. Yeah, all along, he never had an interpreter to communicate with him or anything. They just, took the information from the parents. So I brought him to this professional in Bloomington, and he changed his medication, and now he can sign completely. He's fully involved. He's more independent. He has more life skills. He's more involved in the workshop and activities and so on. Wow. It's important to have for the deaf to have accessibility in the mental health field. Sorry, the interpreter has to catch up. So I did that for 3 years, and I worked, I had a contract with that agency and transferred to another agency, then moved to a third agency, and then I decided to go back to Thresholds again in Chicago. I went back to them and became a team leader in their therapy program and had deaf clients. I had 70 deaf clients with 5 staff under me. And we had clients with mental health and substance abuse issues. That was the population that we served. I worked there for 5 years. And then I decided to leave that job because honestly, the social field is a high demand job. You have to have a lot of energy, you have to be involved a lot in the support of the clients. So I wanted to add one more story about my dad. He's my hero, really. He didn't have any background with deaf people. He was a blue-collar worker when I was growing up. In my deaf class, when I was growing up, there were about 20 or 30 deaf students. And all of them had parents that didn't sign at all. They would just use a few home signs at home, like this for bed and food and point, go take a bath, come on, get in the car, just very, very, few signs. But my parents could sign in complete sentences with me. So there were a few that the mothers could sign, but none had a father that could sign. Wow. I was very fortunate. I cherish my parents for that. That gave me a lot of confidence growing up. So one time we went to Alaska, way far north. For 4 summers we went to Alaska when I was growing up, like when I was 11, 12, 13, 14. saw bears, went fishing, hiking, all of that. For 4 days we've been hiking on the Crow Trail. And it was a very steep mountain, very big, and there was the trail. I could touch the mountain as I was walking. I could touch the mountain, it was so steep. And I was about 12 or 13. I had a backpack with my sleeping bag, and we're walking on the trail, all 4 of us. Being very careful as we go along. If you threw a rock, wow, it would go all the way down. And we stopped and saw some snow. It was in the summertime in July, but there was snow on the top of the mountain. And that scared me to death. I thought, oh, I'm going to slip and fall and slide all the way down this mountain. And I'll be breaking the wood, trees all the way down as I, go crashing down the mountain. So we had a discussion. What should we do? Go back or go on ahead? It was like our 3rd day of hiking. The food's going to run out if we don't go ahead. And my dad explained with signing, it's safe, we'll be careful as we walk along. You just be very careful where you step. He explained it all to me, and I understood. Okay, it's safe, all right. But still, I was scared. And my dad said, if you walk right here, then you'll be able to do anything. And I thought, okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to trust my father's advice. Oh, wow, it was kind of scary. There was water way down at the bottom and another mountain. And I could see goats eating the grass on the other side of the other mountain. Down, and you could see the valley way below. And I could hold onto the snow here. I would hold onto the snow as I moved along. And then, we were successful, and that inspired me growing up as a deaf child in a hearing world. Okay. Oh, the pizza's arrived. Let me give you a break. But first I want to tell you something about my work. I used to be involved with, my mom would work with children that had autism. So I had a little bit of experience with that in the mental health field. So we're going to take a break now, and then I'm going to teach you some signs relating to the mental health field, and then talk about working with deaf people. I did have hearing clients also. I had some experience with hearing clients also, with heroin abuse and marijuana and alcohol, people that were addicted to various drugs, and people that had seizures and bipolar, multiple personality disorder. I worked with all different kinds of people. And so I'm going to show you, as a social worker, how to work with them. And the idea of recovery. I'll talk some about recovery. The country of Bolivia. This is the sign, Bolivia. Their sign for pizza is this. This is their sign for pizza. Our sign pizza or pizza. There's various signs. Pizza's a little funny to us. It's different. Anyone here a social work major? Yeah, you're majoring in social work. Raise your hand. Anyone? who has not learned any signs at all? This is your first experience. You haven't learned any signs at all. A few people, okay? Am I your first deaf person that you've met? If I'm the first deaf person that you've met, raise your hand. They're all raising their hand. Yeah, many are my students. How many are my students? Raise your hand. Did you come because you wanted to, or you came because I have to, I must, I gotta get credit for being here? Which one? Which one? How many are Karen's students? How many here are Karen's students? Did she finish warning you about my class? It's tough, it's awful. If you end up in my class, you're gonna have a tough time. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead with teaching some sign vocabulary. I'll show you some signs that are related with social work. And then after that, I'll tell you some of my experiences as a social worker. And then you'll see some of the signs that I just taught you that you recently learned, okay? I'm wondering if anyone wants to stand with me and you can voice the terms that I sign, and the people can copy me, so Karen she can rest her voice, go use her cell phone. Anybody in the social work field? Anybody in the social work field has that major? Too nervous, your legs are shaking? I'm not gonna bite. Okay, come on. I have a list right here. Ooh, if I offer you money. $1. You can buy some candy with it. Oh, okay. Come on up. Brave, finally. She overcame, just like me. She overcame. Come on. Social work. Psychology. It comes from like they're sitting in the chair and they're talking to the psychiatrist. Therapy. Counseling. Same as the sign for advice. Struggles. Drug and alcohol. Miracle sign for drugs. Alcohol.
Substance abuse.
When I go to a restaurant and I order a Coke, I'll sign Coke like this, Coke. They're like, what? What? Coke, Coke. You know, I want to drink some Coke. Like, oh, Coke. And then they'll laugh. I'm trying to communicate with them. Coke.
Help you or help me? Crisis. Intervention. Recovery.
There's two signs. Recovery. You know, you go to the hospital, you're sick, and you recover, you get better. In mental health, we sign recovery. So that's a long process to recover and move on up, recover.
Added.
Some of you, are you addicted to your telephone? Or texting? Some of you are. When I was young, my mom was on the phone. You know, the old dial with the big long cord, curly cord. And she'd be talking on the phone. I'd watch her, I'd say, come on, who is it? Who is it? She'd say, wait, hold on, I'm on the phone, I'm talking on the phone. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, and then she'd start talking again and talking again. Okay, bye-bye. Bye. Many hearing people are like that, you know? They have a hard time giving up the phone. In America, they are addicted to the telephone. You need to recover and control your life. You're on the phone, hang it up. Pick it up and say, you can come here now. You know, like an airplane landing. And all the hearing people, you know, they do this with their head when they're landing. Not because of the brakes, but they're like this all the time. Or when they get up on the phone, getting up from sitting down when they're on the phone, that's what they do. It shows they're addicted. You know, you're addicted. You need to give it up. Hang it up.
Illness. Brain. Medicine.
Make medicine. This is how they made it in the old days. You know, they pound it out. You rub it in, or you take a pill.
Depression. multi-personality disorder.
Multi-personality disorder.
Major psychotic with depression disorder.
Major, this is like you have a major in college. What's your major? But do you sign that for major personality disorder? No, in your face. It's disconnected. Your mind is disconnected. This is major. Your face has to show it. Oh, it's very serious. Mind disconnected, major. With depression disorder.
Symptomatic. Anxiety.
Fear. What do you think? What would you guess for anxiety? That's good. That's good. Nervousness, anxiety. Very nervous, extremely nervous.
Panic. Yeah, panic.
In deaf culture, we tap each other to get each other's attention in deaf culture, right? That's the proper way to get someone's attention in deaf culture. Okay. So, anxiety, and your face looks like this, anxiety. And panic. Panic is like this. You really look shocked. So, in one, your eyes are more closed, and the other, your eyes are open more. Bipolar. You're feeling both ways, bipolar. I work with many bipolar individuals.
Consumer.
Why? Many patients in mental health are volunteers, and they get services, and this is a sign for consumer. Except in the hospital, when you're a patient, and they get services from an agency. This is a sign for consumer.
Delusion.
Delusional. This is what your face should look like. With D's.
Eating disorder.
Eating disorder. Eating, the sign of problem. Eating disorder. Eat at nighttime. So I eat at nighttime. Do I have an eating disorder? My tummy's not behaving, so, there's no beer in my tummy. It's just my tummy growling. Schizophrenia. I worked in mental health, but still I can't spell it. I have to look at it when I spell it. Why? Because I'm deaf. I can't spell. That's why, okay? Schizophrenia. And this is how you sign schizophrenia. How do you say it? Schizophrenia. You can't spell. I can't pronounce it. See? Deaf and hearing, no difference.
screening,
screening, a screening, like a filter. It's the same sign like a filter, a screening,
hallucination,
hallucination, hallucination,
manipulative personality disorder,
manipulative personal disorder. There's different signs. Here's a bird, and here's the I love you sign. You put it together like this. Oh. He's signing this, but you know what he means by the bird? Yeah, you don't really do it like that, right? So you put those two together, and it's the sign for manipulative personality disorder. Like, I love you, I hate you. I love you, I hate you together. Manipulative personality disorder. Yay!
No, too far.
It's a hearing phrase, you know, the bird is a hearing phrase. I'm trying to communicate with you in your language, but you still don't understand me. Okay. Oh, I have many stories, many different stories. At Thresholds, I had 2 deaf programs. They had 2 deaf programs, one in the north side and one in the south. And it happened because of the economy and merging of the programs. Threshold decided the deaf program would all become one. So I led that merging and that project, and it was a huge program. And I worked with those people. And we worked with a variety of different people that had different labels for their diagnosis. Some of them volunteered to get services. Some were referred through the hospitals in Chicago. Some were referred through the Reed State Hospital in Chicago. Have you heard of that? Reed Hospital. That's the state hospital. And they have a deaf unit there. So I have a few stories. But I want to start with this idea of recovery. What is recovery? What does that mean for deaf people? And for you in the social work field, what does that mean, recovery? What does that term mean to you? Does anybody want to have a definition? You can talk about it. Karen will give you the mic. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and talk about it, recovery. Recovery means the processing of change through the individual's improvement of their mental, physical health, and wellness. And life is let me go ahead and read the quote here. Recovery means a process of change through which individuals improve their mental and physical health, wellness. live in a self-directed life and strive to achieve their full potential. Notice in that statement, that person, here in American culture, we have a stigma. Those people are deaf, those people are hearing. We have different cultures, and there's the Mexican culture, or they tend to eat tacos, They tend to have big families. You know what I mean? We have stigma of the different cultures. Now, in mental health, we have various labels. And are all the labels the same? No. They're all from various backgrounds, ways of life, different situations, broken homes, wealthy people, poor people. We have all different types of people. And they're all involved in the various groups, but they're all individuals. So their thresholds has an individual plan for each person. And we have paperwork for each person. So I want to tell you a story about Singapore. And they established some mental health services over there. Maybe there were 10 people. And they flew to Chicago to visit Thresholds, the Department of Quality Assurance Services at Thresholds. And they led them through, and they came into my office, and they asked me, through the interpreter, can you please tell them about the journey of recovery? So I said, fine. They all sat there in my office. So I went ahead and signed. They knew English. And I told them a story about a man who was deaf. I'm going to give him the name of Joe. I'm just making that up. His name is Joe. He lives in Chicago. And he traveled to California for college education. And he got lost. Family didn't know where he was. They're all looking for him. They contacted the police, the hospital. And where is Joe? Here's Joe. The family flew to California. They searched through the college, and they found him on the street. And he had heroin. He had a heroin addiction and another psychological label. So they got approval. They flew him back, and he came to the state hospital in Chicago, and they referred him to me. Oh, he was very skinny. He was just skin and bones. You could see, his individual teeth, and he was just so thin. So I talked with him, and I said, you know why I'm here? He said, yeah, you came to help. So I explained about the program, what it had to offer, and it was called Community Treatment Program that we had, and what was available, housing, management of medication, doctor's appointments, daily living skills, independent living skills, and this is what we have available. Are you interested? And he said, yes. Okay, fine. So we included him and brought him into the program. He went to the meth program to deal with the heroin withdrawal symptoms. So he would they had a substitute for meth that he would take to help slow down the withdrawals, the symptoms from that. And I went with him every week, 3 times every week. I went to his home. He stayed at a hotel, a 1-room hotel room in the middle of Chicago. So we went through that process, and sometimes he would beg for more drugs. So Then he went to a deaf addiction recovery program for the deaf. And he finished that, and then he got a job. And he got a job as a janitor. We had a program for that. Taught him the skills that he needed to manage his money. Taught him about shopping, how to shop, and different things like that. Every week I would give him $25 for food money. Every week I would go with him, do the shopping every week. And then I would drive there, give him the money. He would go in himself and come back out. And so every week we did that. And then I gave him this money and told him, okay, now you go yourself. You go yourself. And then he'd come back. Everything looked good? Okay. And he became more independent. Here's another example. That man had a job, but he was afraid of the bus, afraid of going out in public. He was afraid of people. He didn't want to go outside. He wanted to stay inside his apartment. His parents would be like, you got to go out. You got to go out. He'd be like, no, he refused. And I talked with him for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Talked about the air, the environment, the noise, all the different things that he was stressing out about, people looking at him and all of that. And we'd have these sessions. And then we finally went out on the porch for 5 minutes, came back in. Then we'd go out on the porch again. And then after he was used to the porch, then we went over to the bus stop. So we'd walk over to the bus stop. And then I would watch him walk to the bus by himself. I said, I'm going to go get something in my car, but you just sit there at the bus stop. So then I leave and come back. And then we actually got on the bus, and that was the recovery process for him at his own pace. I wouldn't hurry him, push him, but just encourage him and go at his own pace. Talk with him, listen to him, and that's how we would proceed. But anyway, back to Joe. Joe got a job. He got a nice apartment on the North Shore. It was a fancy apartment, very nice. It was a beautiful building. He had a car. Everything looked great. He had money. He could take care of himself. And then a few months later, he relapsed. This is a sign for relapse. And he started getting on drugs a little bit, started missing work a little bit, and missed more and more work, got fired, lost his apartment, and on it snowballed, and he's living on the street again and came back to us and wanted some more support. Okay, fine. And then, we discussed about the drug addiction. Why are you doing it? Because it feels good, And then, well, what can we replace that with? And find out what kind of support he needs and all of that kind of thing. And then finally, he moved into a hotel with a lot of drug activity, prostitutes. And I said, okay, that's your choice. I just waited and waited. But my job was to make sure he was safe, teach him safe sex, how to be safe with the drugs, and encourage him to be careful. Not encourage him, yeah, go ahead, use all the drugs and sex you want. No, but teach him how to be safe. I didn't give him my opinion, that's wrong, no, you shouldn't do that. I would just say, what's important? Oh, my family's important, my son's important, my dad. And I'd say, okay, fine, but how do they feel about this? Oh, they're mad at me. Yeah, they're like rejecting me. But you want to reconnect with your family again? So I would have these discussions with him every week. And he agreed, yes. But I had to wait. After a few months, he said, I'm tired of all this. Tired of the drug life and all these kind of people, and they're bothering me all the time for money and taking advantage of me. I want to move out of here. I'm like, okay, you want to move out of here? Where do you want to go? You do you want, to leave to a better place? You want to stay here? And so he went into an addiction program and got a nice apartment. And I worked with him all together 3 years. So his recovery was like this, up and down. Sometimes people relapse very quickly. And then, they'll recover, but then they'll relapse less and less and less. Also, we helped him save money. He was in and out of the hospital. So then finally Joe got a job as a janitor, and things continued on. He cleaned up his life. He dressed better. He communicated more with his family. And we talk about, well, what could he say to his family? Apologize to them, tell them I miss you. And he'd write a letter. And the family started opening up again and seeing him more. They'd meet at a restaurant with his family, and I just support him. What do you need? What do you want? It's not my goal and my dream for that person. This is what I deem your recovery should look like. I would just help him with his goals. I want to tell you about another story about a man that had psychotic tendencies. He'd just walk around. He'd just walk down the street and there would be no people around, but he'd act like he was talking to everybody that was all around him, but nobody was around him as he walked down the street. And I'd say, what about your medication? Then he'd be off his medication, go in the hospital, in and out of the hospital. Then he'd do better and he'd go home. So he'd take his medicine, he'd be okay. But if he stopped taking his medicine, he'd think, I'm just fine, I'm okay. And I'd be like, no, you need to stay on your medicine or you'll be back in the hospital. And he'd be like, no, don't worry about it. I'm okay. But then he would relapse and, have those psychotic episodes. His apartment was filthy. His kitchen was filthy. In the toilet, it was just awful. He had trash everywhere. Nothing had been cleaned up. So again, he'd go back to the hospital. Then he'd get better and go home. And I'd say, you need to sign. We had him sign a contract that Thresholds could videotape him. And he said, well, finally, okay, fine. He'd be taking his medicine, everything would be fine. He'd go to group meetings. Then he decided to stop taking his medicine. And then he'd go to the hospital. And after that, we videotaped him. And we showed it to him. That was it. He knew because he stopped taking his medication how awful things got. And seeing it on the video proved it to him. So we try to support him and do everything else, but it was the video that worked for him. Once he saw the video, it proved it to him. So that was my job as a social worker. In another case, this person had thoughts of suicide all the time. I was a social worker. I went in. I had to make sure that I would be near the door so I could escape. With any client, really, I always stayed near the door, always. In case there was a problem or an issue, I could escape. One time I went in to the kitchen, there was this great big long knife, and someone had scars already from using the knife in the past. And that's what I walked into. and I was ready to phone 911. And I said, but she wasn't aggressive. She was just wheeling her knife around, but she wasn't aggressive. I listened to what she had to say, talk about my daughter, talk about my mom, and so on and so forth. I listened to all of that. Yeah, I understand. And then she would talk about hope. And then we had more and more discussion. And I said, you want to work on that? Your dreams, your hopes? I can help. But if you're going to hurt yourself, do you think that's going to be successful or what? And then she finally laid down the knife. That was one time. If she would have become aggressive, I would have left. I would have left immediately. That was one thing that I experienced. Also, one time there was this very heavyset man, and he had a lot of anxiety. He was isolated, alone in his apartment. The apartment smelled awful, and the landlord couldn't get rid of him because of the tenant rights. And he clipped his nails so tight that he was missing some of his fingertips. I'm not sure exactly about that, what was going on, but I went into his apartment and there was such a strong smell. It was awful. I thought, where can I help him clean? Use some soap and clean up the place. But I kept smelling this awful smell. And then I found a pail with the lid on it. And I said, what's that? I'm just curious. What's that? I use that to go to the bathroom. It's too far to go to the bathroom, so I just use the pail. I'm like, what? What? I didn't say, that's not safe, that's not right. I wasn't there to judge him. That's what I thought inside, but I remembered at Gallaudet University, when I went to college there, in my dorm room, my roommate and I each had a bed, and we had a sink in the room. And all the way down the hall was the bathroom. And we'd have to walk all the way down to the hall to use the bathroom. Sometimes if I got up at 2 a.m, I would use the sink for the bathroom once in a while. During my freshman year, understand, this was my freshman year. I would go in the bathroom there because I was too lazy to walk down the hall. That was convenient. And then my roommate was asleep. Okay, no problem. I turn on the water, and then go back to bed. It was fast. It was perfect. I was smart. Yeah. And recently, I talked with my roommate from back then, and I said, I have something to confess. Sometimes I go to the bathroom in the sink, and he said, oh, really? Me too. We both did the same thing. We shared the sink as the toilet. So I thought about that, and I thought, okay, he has a reason why he doesn't want to go to the bathroom, same as me before. The bathroom. Yeah, in my dorm, you'd have to go out the hallway, and the lights were bright, and you'd have to walk all the way to the end of the hall to go to the bathroom, and there'd be like 4 stalls there, and I didn't want to do it back then. So I understood. I understood what was going on. I said, okay, how often do you dump it? He said, once a week. Once a week I dump it. Gulp. I said, okay, what about every 3 days? Can we take care of it about every 3 days? Because, it's a health issue and, that kind of thing. It's a health threat. And he said, okay, fine. So we looked at the calendar and we wrote down which days he would take care of it. Was that a good plan? No, he should go to the bathroom every time, but it's his life, right? So that's what we did. Okay. And then I'd see him and he'd say, hey, I took care of it every 3 days. Oh, good. I said, what happens? Well, now it smells better. It's healthier, right? Come on, tell me some more. The neighbors were complaining. Now they're complaining less. I said, that's right. Yeah, keep it going. Now, what about, can we do it more often? Can we dump it more often? Okay, fine. So that took a year. It took a year for that recovery to work with him. Finally, he went and used the regular bathroom. So finally, it was a big improvement then. One time I went to an intake interview. The person had hearing loss. I said hi. And so you were referred why, and you want to work with us? Okay, I wrote everything down, and I gave him a cup to pee in. What? I'm sorry, that was misinterpretation. It's very stressful. He's saying she's under a lot of stress. Okay. He gave you a cup of pop. A can of pop. A can of pop. Okay, he gave me a can of pop. He gave me the can of pop. He was being very polite and friendly. And I drank it. Okay. And then about 1 or 2 weeks later, it was the first time I went into the house. Oh, he was a hoarder. There was just piles of everything. He had 30 cats. You know, there was cat poop everywhere. If I stepped, I would get, poop splashing up on my pants. And then I was like, oh no, 2 weeks ago, I drank that pop. Why? Because I saw pop on the floor. I was like, oh no. I went home and took a shower and brushed my teeth. That's what I thought. So I arrived, I checked everything, made sure everything was safe. I gave him a few tips. First, I said you need to set up a boundary. You know, that story recently where we talked about giving someone their own space and, the involvement. I'm not going to get involved emotionally in their recovery. I'm going to, stay separate from that. I'm going to just give them support. It's an honorable job, but am I a hero? I can save the world? No, I can't. It's important to have empathy and to listen and to have respect for their life. To respect them, their situation, and so on. When I arrived home, I never told my friends and family the stories. Or if I went out to a restaurant with my friends, I didn't share stories about their lives. Sometimes I share anonymously, but in a presentation like this. But, that guy that was very heavy set and wouldn't use the bathroom, now he travels all over America. He's got a very successful business. If I would tell that story and say, let you know who it was, wow, you'd be shocked. Now he's thin, he's happy, he's involved, and very proud of him. So that is recovery and social work and working together as a team to help them with their recovery. Do you have any questions or thoughts that you want to add or anything that you'd like to share? Okay, great. And I want to just let you know that next week on April 8th, the ASL Club will hold game night here in this room. It's especially great for children. It's a lot of fun activities, similar to what we did last Halloween. Now we're going to do it here. It should be fun. And we have a coffee the third Friday of every month in Valpo at Uptown Cafe from 5 to 7:30. And there's a Deaf Magic show at Battle Auditorium, in Mishawaka, Thursday. This Thursday. You can look at the PNC ASL Club Facebook page or contact Karen. Okay, I think that's everything. Thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed it.